Feels like this final month for the Broncos is almost a playoff game every single week. And this one, you got the number 1 seed in the AFC, the Broncos going up against the number 2 seed in the NFC, the Packers. And Baldy, the Broncos are underdogs in this game. Is that right? Should the Broncos be the underdogs in this game? Are the Packers that good? Because it's kind of baffling for a team that's won 11 games, has a 10-game win streak at home, has a 10-game win streak on the season.
Yeah, I'm not sure like how Vegas does it. What it's based on. I don't know if it's based on, the eye test or statistics or measure. I mean, I don't really know, but it doesn't really matter. I mean, I thought last week the Broncos played a different style of football than they had to play. I mean, they just played ball control. They didn't take any deep shots. They weren't trying to be explosive. They just want to play keep away. From the Raiders, I almost feel like Sean thought this is a good time to work on that. In case we get a team like Green Bay, and you want to keep their offense off the field, can we control the football for 40 minutes or 35 minutes? Can we is our quarterback good enough? Is our running game I felt like they were preparing for a game like this where, okay, let's give Jordan Love 7 or 8 possessions. Let's just play keep away. I almost felt like that was part of his game plan, knowing that he could beat the Raiders. Just the defense alone could probably beat him outside of that first drive. And so I don't know how he thinks, in these kind of games like last week, but I thought that was a different style than we had seen.
I thought so too, and I hadn't thought of it that way as getting ready for these next couple of games. But I'm kind of curious to see where this goes because do you think that it could be a shift in kind of like their offensive philosophy? Like they could realize that their strength might be running the ball instead of trying to spread teams out, or do you think that it's kind of late in the season for a team to think we need to start playing differently to be at our very best?
No, I mean, look, the quarterback completed 75% of his passes or more. It was a high percentage. They weren't, they dinked and dunked. And so I almost felt like, okay, the weather's going to get nasty. You don't want to turn the ball over. The other, I always feel like you got to be able to play any style it takes to win. Like sometimes you got to play with one hand tied behind your back, and that's the way to win. And sometimes, like in the Kansas City game, from the opening drive, it was bombs away. We need explosive plays against the Chiefs. And so that's the style. And Sean said it. He said it on the pregame, like we were gonna take our shots. We're not gonna, play with house money. And so I felt like that was the style. Then last week, and so you never know. Like you get home games here. I don't know what the weather's going to be like in Denver, but I've seen it getting pretty lousy, around the country right now. And sometimes, you want to be able to have the short passing game as an extension of the run game, as a way to just continue to pile up first downs and extend these drives. And I almost felt like maybe that was a way to work on it. And maybe you do that against Green Bay. Micah Parsons is a problem. I call it the MPP. And so he can change the game. He did last week against Chicago, flushing Caleb Williams 3 or 4 times out of the pocket, making him throw the ball away. How they handle that, because he's lining up everywhere. He's a chess piece now, and they're using him the way I think he should be used, where he can go wherever he wants on some third downs, but they still have structure. They still have rush lanes. They still have things in the secondary in place, but they let him just freelance because he's so good at it.
Baldy, you're an NFL guy. You got the NFL letter jacket. If I had a letter jacket, it would just be an AFC letter jacket. Like, I'm just an AFC guy. And because of that, it just means I haven't seen much of the Packers. So what makes the Packers special?
Well, a couple things. One, they've had to adjust a lot during the season. They lost Tucker Kraft, who was their best receiver, a couple weeks ago, and they went on a dip. Like they literally, and then they had other guys out, but and then they lost their center, and they tried to, imagine if Denver loses Wattenberg, what they're going to do after losing Powers. I'm not sure what the plan is, but they lost their center, who's a good player. So then they moved Sean Ryan into center, but they didn't really have a good right guard. And then they end up putting the rookie in there, Anthony Belton, and he's played really good the last 2 weeks. So now I feel like they've solidified the offensive line. They had lost Josh Jacobs for a game and a half, and they had to replace that. And I felt like they've overcome these losses on offense to the point where they've won 4 in a row. And if you watch that Packers-Chicago game the other day, like it was a playoff game. It was played like a playoff game. There was a a big intensity at Lambeau. It came down to the final drive. Keyshawn Nixon made a play in the end zone. Otherwise, maybe it's going to overtime. And so I feel like they're a well-coached team. They give you a lot to concentrate on. They do a lot in the run game. The quarterback threw 3 – I don't know if this is a record, but I haven't seen it recently. He threw 3 touchdown passes in a span of 12 plays. Like, he didn't miss. And the Bears have a very good defense. They lead the league in takeaways, lead the league in interceptions. He had 3 touchdown passes in 12 plays. So, the guy is seeing the field really well, and he's got some big-time receivers like Watson right now that can go and get it.
Yeah, and Baldy, speaking of the Broncos and some weapons that they have, we saw RJ Harvey had his breakout game this past Sunday. From what you saw from that film, do you think this is sustainable for RJ Harvey to be this workhorse for the Broncos, especially in the playoffs when you really need a running game?
Yeah, I mean, he was good in the red zone. The idea that running backs have good vision is sort of stupid because nobody sees anything. Like, you got to have instincts. You got to know. If you're looking for a hole, it's too late. Like, that's not how it works. And you can ask any running back that. Ricky Williams used to tell me that he ran goal lines with his eyes closed. Like, he closed his eyes. He said it was just a habit. Like, so, I think the guy has good instincts about where to go. I think that's why he was drafted where he was. And he's an excellent receiver. But I feel like I think they've paced it to the point where if he's got to get 15 to 20 carries because he's just better than Jaleel or better than Badi or whatever, like, I think he can handle it right now.
Maybe Ricky's eyes were closed because of what he was doing before the game.
Yes.
Maybe. Hadn't thought of that.
It's possible. It's so fun to see RJ go and do that, though, because we had questions. It was 4 straight games, less than 3 yards per carry. To see him go out there, especially between the tackles, find some run lanes and create some productive runs was awesome to see. But also in the back of our mind, we're all thinking it is the Raiders. So how sustainable is this really? And can you really take that into a game against the Packers front 7 and expect it to work?
Chicago, they carved out a run game last week. I mean, they got this Kyle Manung guy they have. He's another rookie. I mean, I think he's the hardest guy to tackle in the league. That's why he's so good in the short yards and goal line for him. But, if you're going to have fresh legs, it's going to be when you're a rookie, Like, if you're going to have I mean, they always say there's a rookie wall. But for running backs, he hadn't had a whole lot of carries. In fact, he has a total of he doesn't have 100 carries yet, so I can't feel like there's a lot left in the legs this year. He's 21 years old. Like, come on. Like, if you're going to be a running back in this league, Christian McCaffrey's going to get 450 touches this year, and he's 8 years in this league. So, I feel like he should be built for it. He should be getting better because he got any running back to me that's good gets better the more touches he gets. And, we've seen Sean rotate these backs, throughout the season for whatever reason. And he's always kind of done that. But I feel like RJ proved a lot last week. This is a much better run defense. I love Max Crosby, but I don't know what Max was doing on some of those runs last week. He's taking himself out of the play. But they're much more disciplined in Green Bay up front with the guys that they have.
Baldy, if you had to boil it down to if the Broncos do this, they will win the game on Sunday, what would it be?
Well, I think if they take the ball away, which they don't do, if they take the ball away, they're going to win the game. Now, Green Bay has been susceptible to that at times this year. I don't know if Jordan Love has thrown an interception in the last 4 weeks. I don't think as many if he has. But, they have 10 takeaways. For a team that has 55 sacks, that's a very low number. Very low number. And so I feel like I've said this before, like, sacks are good. Malcolm Roach can get a sack. It's good, okay? But it's a whole lot better if you can get the ball out. If you can start getting these strip sacks, where you secure the tackle and then you strip the ball. Like, I feel like that's a next step for Nick, for Zach, for some of these guys to start getting the ball out. You're getting there. You're getting to the quarterback. Now, how about getting the ball on the ground? And I feel like that's what's been missing from this defense is to take – because then I think they could start really, making a claim to be the best team. out there if they start doing that. Because Deion Sanders told me this a long time ago, and I always believed it. He said that a good defense is a defense that's a scoring defense. Last year they were scoring touchdowns. Benito scored a couple. Like I feel like that's the next step for this defense here. If they want to go through Green Bay and Jacksonville, some of these better teams, you win that battle, they're going to win these games.
Baldy, what do you think the Broncos' record is in these final 4 games? You get the Packers at home this week, then you get the Jags at home the following week, then a short week in Arrowhead to play the Chiefs, and then you finish it against the Chargers. This is probably the toughest stretch for the Broncos. How do you think they fare in this tough stretch?
Well, if they go 3-1, I mean, I believe they'll be the number 1 seed. We'll see what New England does with Buffalo, and how they fare. But I think they have a chance to be the number 1 seed. I'm going to see Kansas City this weekend against the Chargers. They might eliminate themselves. Not that they're going to play any less on a short week. You know what they're going to do, but how hard they're going to play. But I feel like 3-1 would be really good. With the basically 4 playoff teams or 4 teams are playoff worthy.
Yeah.
It's a tough part of their schedule. So if they go 2-2, they're still going to be in good shape.
Yeah.
They're still going to have home playoff games and play a lower seeded team. But, I think that they have a chance still to be the number 1 seed. And that's what they should be thinking about because it's important to get that week of rest. It's huge, and getting ready and getting the next game at home in front of the crowd. That's a lot to play for right here in these 4 games.
Baldy, incredible insight. We love talking to you, and maybe we're talking about a 12-2 Broncos team with you next week. Thanks for all your insight. Enjoy this weekend.
These games are important. Real quick here, Zach. These games are important. Like, you want to be battle-tested. Beating the Raiders is nice. It's great. Being battle-tested and getting ready for the playoffs, I feel like these games down the stretch can really sharpen you up. The coach, the game plans, the execution. Like, I think these are really not just to win these games, but to take on the test of Green Bay, coming off a 4-game win streak, taking on Jacksonville is hot right now. Like, I think you're going to find out a lot about who you are. The win streak is great. The record is great. But you kind of want to know when you go in the locker room at the end of the game, just who you are. And I think these games are going to shape that.
Well, Baldy, that actually, really quick, that gives some insight on why the Broncos' 3 championship teams in the past, they've all lost 2 games in December. And maybe it is because that right before the playoffs, you kind of get an idea of who you are and where you need to get better. And I think that could fit right in with that stat.
Yeah, good nugget. Yeah. All right, Zach. Good, man.
Right on. Well, thank you, Baldy, for joining us.
Guys.
We will talk to you next week.
You got it, bud. See you guys.
See ya. The legend, Brian Baldinger. Could you tell what that logo was?
I couldn't.
I thought maybe Florida Panthers. He does live in Florida.
I was looking like the Columbus.
Yeah.
Soccer team or something.
Yeah. You think Baldy's a soccer guy? I don't think so either. It's just something.
But it does look like they're like the Columbus Cannons or something like that.
Yeah, Dion, maybe you can do that research in the final 15 minutes of the show.
Zoom
right
it
here.
in for us.